World War II is the most defining event in modern history. It was a global conflict that consumed nations, shattered empires, and ended with a decisive victory for the Allied powers. The forces of freedom and democracy prevailed, and the world was reshaped by the victory. The story is a familiar one, etched into the collective memory of a generation. But what if a single moment, a single decision, had gone differently? What if the tide of history had turned, and the Axis powers had emerged victorious? This is a journey into a dark, twisted, and deeply unsettling alternate timeline. It's a world where the principles of fascism and totalitarianism reign supreme, and the dreams of a free world are crushed under the weight of a new and terrible order. This isn't a story of a victorious Germany. It's a story of a world that lost, and a humanity that would never be the same. It's a look at a future that was narrowly avoided, a future of endless darkness, fear, and oppression. The fall of Europe, the moment of divergence, 1940 to 1945. The path to an Axis victory is not a single event, but a series of moments that turn in their favor. The first of these moments would be the Battle of Britain. In our timeline, the Royal Air Force, with the aid of radar and the courage of its pilots, managed to hold off the Luftwaffe, saving the United Kingdom from invasion. But what if Hitler had decided to dedicate all of his forces to a prolonged and relentless attack on the airfields and radar stations, not the cities? What if a new, more effective long-range bomber had been developed in 1940, capable of striking deep into the English countryside with impunity? In this timeline, the Luftwaffe gains air superiority, and the German army launches a successful invasion of Britain. The United Kingdom, the last bastion of hope in Europe, falls. The Union Jack is lowered over London, replaced by the swastika. The free world shrinks to a single, isolated continent. With Britain defeated, the German war machine is now free to turn its full attention to the Soviet Union. In our timeline, the brutal Russian winter and the strength of the Red Army ground the German advance to a halt. But in this timeline, the German army, with the full resources of a conquered Europe at its disposal, manages to push deep into Russia, capturing Moscow and Leningrad. But this time, they don't stop there. They push deep into the heart of Russia, forcing a surrender, and the Soviet Union, the greatest enemy of the Third Reich, is defeated. With Europe and Russia under its control, the Axis powers turn their attention to the last remaining force on the planet, the United States. In our timeline, the United States, fueled by the attack on Pearl Harbor, enters the war with a vengeance. But in this timeline, the American people, facing a successful Axis in Europe and Asia, choose isolationism. A powerful isolationist movement, supported by a new generation of political leaders, argues that the war is a European problem, and that America should not get involved. The United States, though still a powerful nation, retreats into itself, leaving the world to the Axis powers. The war is over, and the Axis has won. The political map of the world is redrawn. Europe is now a collection of German puppet states, with the German Reich at its center. The United States, still powerful but isolated, is a fearful nation, surrounded by a world that it no longer recognizes. Japan, the other Axis power, is a global superpower, with its empire stretching across Asia and the Pacific. The world is a place of two or three great powers, each vying for control, but all of them united by a common ideology of total control. The long-term consequences: the New World Order, 1945 to 2000. With victory secured, the Axis powers would begin to build a new world, a new order built on the principles of totalitarianism, racial hierarchy, and absolute control. The new order would not be a peaceful one. The two great powers, the German Reich and the Japanese Empire, would be locked in a cold war of their own, each paranoid of the other's power, and each vying for global dominance. Technology and innovation, the arms race of fear in this new world. Technology would not be used to improve the human condition, but to control it. The German and Japanese scientific communities would be given unlimited resources to develop new and terrifying weapons. The atom bomb, in our timeline a symbol of American power, would be a German weapon, a tool to intimidate and control a terrified world. Science would be used to control every aspect of human life, from the production of goods to the surveillance of every citizen. The technological advancements would be staggering. Jet aircraft, once a fantasy, would be a common sight in the skies, a symbol of German power. The V-2 rocket would become the basis for intercontinental ballistic missiles, and the world would live under the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. But the most terrifying advancements would be in the field of eugenics and racial purity. The racial ideology of the Third Reich would be applied to the world, creating a new kind of social hierarchy, a twisted and horrifying system of control and oppression. Society in a world of fear, a new kind of oppression in this new world. Freedom would be a memory. The media would be a tool of propaganda, used to indoctrinate and control the population. Dissent would not be tolerated. The art, the music, and the literature of the world would be replaced by a sterile, sanitized form of culture that serves only to glorify the state. The world would be a place of constant fear and paranoia, where every person is a potential enemy, and every thought is a potential crime. The human experience would be fundamentally altered. Gone would be the days of open debate and free expression. The world would be a place of silent conformity, where every person is a cog in a machine, and every thought is a potential crime. The world would be a place of constant fear and paranoia, where the only thing that matters is survival. But in this dark world, the human spirit would not be completely extinguished. Resistance movements, underground networks, and secret societies would form, fighting a silent, desperate war against the New World Order. They would be a small, but determined, force, a last flicker of hope in a world of darkness. The philosophical and psychological impact, the burden of a lost world. The greatest consequence of an Axis victory would not be physical or political, it would be philosophical. The world would have to confront the fact that our most cherished ideals, freedom, democracy, and equality, had been defeated. The very idea of progress would be a myth, a lie told by the victors to justify their crimes. The world would be a place of broken dreams and shattered hopes, a world where the only hope for a better future is to fight a war that may never be won. The psychological toll of living in a world of constant fear, surveillance, and oppression would be immense. The human spirit, which has always been defined by its search for freedom, would be forced to adapt to a world where freedom is a crime. The world would be a place of broken dreams and shattered hopes, a world where the only hope for a better future is to fight a war that may never be won. If a free world was defeated, do you think the human spirit could ever recover? Do you think the ideals of the Western world would survive in a world where freedom is a crime? In a world where dissent is not tolerated, would humanity find a new way to resist and rebel? This timeline is a terrifying reminder of what we, as a species, are capable of. It shows us that history is not a foregone conclusion, but a delicate balance of human will and circumstance. It's a journey to a world of endless darkness, where the only hope for a better future is to fight a war that may never be won. If you want to keep exploring the what-ifs and see how our world could be different, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Timeline Shift, and get ready for our next adventure.